All right. Again, thank you so much for being here this evening. My name is Andrea Morse, and I'm the Assistant Director for Study Abroad at UW-Stout. I think I've had some communications with some of you, and thank you so much for being here this evening. We hope this presentation will get you excited about going to Scotland next summer. This evening we have several people joining us, and so we have some faculty and our student life person and a study abroad alumni. So you'll be able to hear from a variety of us this evening. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and kind of go through the agenda first. We have several items to get through. We anticipate hopefully the presentation will be about 50 minutes or so, and we'll have time then for questions at the end. And also, if you do have questions along the way, certainly feel free, if you want to place them in the chat box. We have Danielle, who is monitoring the chat box this evening, and she can certainly let me know if anyone has a question, and I'm happy to answer it. So we'll start out in a moment with some welcome and or some introductions, and then hear from a JUMPSTART alumni who attended the program this past summer. And we're going to talk about the dates and location, the benefits of a pre-college program, eligibility, the academics, the cost, passports and flights and all those logistical things, insurance, pre-departure orientation, and what's going to happen next, and the timeline for everything. And then how you would like to, how you can apply. And then, of course, again, answer any questions that you may have. So with that, if I could have our faculty and Danielle and Joe pop your cameras on. And I can't see anything except for the presentation. So if you could, maybe Danielle, if you could let me know when everyone is.
I'm seeing lots of faces.
Okay, good. Thank you.
I don't know if it's everybody who's supposed to be here tonight, but it looks like a full house.
Awesome. Thank you. It's perfect. So to start with some introductions here, Danielle, do you want to go ahead first and introduce yourself and let the others know what your role will be in the program next summer?
Sure. So my name is Danielle Clarizio. As Andrea said, I am the Assistant Director for International Student and Scholar Services here at UW-Stout. So I work very closely with every single international student who studies at our university. But I also have some interesting experience that makes me uniquely qualified to be assisting maybe some of you folks over in Scotland. I lived in the UK for 6 years. 5 of those years I lived in Edinburgh, Scotland, which is where the JUMPSTART program is held. And while I was there, I worked as a professional tour guide, as well as with American students who were studying in Scotland for their exchange program. So I have quite a lot of experience in helping students to learn about Edinburgh, as well as showing folks the behind the scenes and the tips and tricks about the city, as well as, of course, what I do in my normal life, which is helping students to adjust to a new culture and new circumstances with new friends. So I hope I'll have the opportunity to meet many of you this summer. I will also say my camera is a little fussy tonight, so I'm going to be turning my face off in a moment just so it doesn't go crazy and scare anybody.
Thank you, Danielle. Yeah, so Danielle will be there for the entire time. So we have, faculty teaching the classes, but it's always helpful to have a student life person. So if there's any issues that arise or concerns or anything, Danielle's kind of the go-to person, and also just kind of helping things keep running with, buses and tours and things like that. So then Joe, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Joe Kaufman. I'm the Director of Financial Aid and Student Employment at Stout, and I'm going to talk a little bit about financial aid opportunities if you have any interest in that, and I'm sure we'll touch base on that later in the presentation.
Great, thank you, Joe. Mitch, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, my name is Mitch Ogden. I'm a professor in the Department of English, philosophy and communication studies, and I'll be teaching Scottish storytelling, and this will be my return to the JUMPSTART program after being there with Danielle last summer. Nice to meet all of you.
Thank you. Michael.
All right. Hey, I'm Michael Hegel. I've been teaching for 22 years this year, and 5 of them are at Stout, and 0 of them are overseas. So this is going to be very exciting. I'm a filmmaker. Also, my students have worked on all sorts of big movies, from Star Wars to Harry Potter to Marvel films, and I got a gal working on The Mandalorian right now.
Great. Thank you, Michael. Cynthia.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Cynthia Bland, and I teach art history in the Department of Art History. And I have been here at Stout for 18 years. And I did the Scotland program in 2019 in the summer. I've also taken students to London and Paris and New York City. And I just love being out in the environment, walking around the city with students. I do street art walking tours as well. And I just love going to all the museums so we can see the works of art in person.
Great. Thank you so much, Cynthia. Unfortunately, Becky DeGrief is not able to be with us this evening, but she will be joining us in the presentation in December if you wanted to pop in again at that time. But thank you. So as you can see, there's a lot of experience here in Scotland. So this is a great location to lead our students again next year. And so we also have some JUMPSTART alumni. So the first time we ran the program was this past summer. And we took 23 students over to Scotland, and 2 of those students now work in our office as assistants. So that could be you in the future. It gave them a great opportunity to start off working in our office right away. So Peyton is unable to be with us this evening, but Anna, I think you're here, right?
Yep, I'm here.
Great. Do you want to go
So-
ahead and, yep, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
introduce
definitely.
yourself and then, yep.
I'm Anna Nowicki, and I'm a freshman here at Stout in the Hotel, Restaurant, and Tourism Management program. And like she said, I was part of the JUMPSTART program this past summer. When I first learned about it, I was really excited because I would get to go to Scotland and get some credits out of it, but it ended up absolutely exceeding my expectations. I love being in Edinburgh all the time and having some freedom to explore, but we were also able to have outings with the whole group to popular places like the castles and the Royal Mile and all of that. And I also gained 6 credits from the month we were abroad, and it was probably 2 of the most fun classes that I've taken because we didn't just sit in the classroom and take notes all day. Like, everything we learned in the classroom directly tied into the sites that we visited and vice versa. So it was very interactive, it felt very hands-on, and it made it all much more interesting and made the whole experience much better. And yeah, it was just a great experience overall, and it was great having the faculty and staff who are familiar with Scotland and could kind of keep us alive and show us where to go. So it was a lot of fun.
Great. Thank you so much, Anna. I appreciate it. All right, so we're going to get into some of the meat and potatoes of the presentation here. So the program will be going from June 25th to July 21st, and we will actually be departing the US on June 25th. I know I've gotten some questions about that already. When do we actually leave? So we will be leaving on Sunday the 25th. Therefore, we can arrive on Monday, June 26th, which is really the official first day of the program, and then it will run for 4 full weeks. Again, it's going to go to Edinburgh, Scotland, and we'll be going to Heriot-Watt University. So students will have an opportunity to see what an actual Scottish university is like. Here's where Heriot-Watt is located. So here we obviously have the whole city of Edinburgh. And Heriot-Watt is on the west side, a little bit southwest side here. If some of you are familiar with Dalkeith, that has a long history with Wisconsin. Dalkeith is right over here, just to kind of give an orientation there. But we will be right on this side. And there's lots of a few different bus lines that double-decker buses that go directly into the city. So it'll be really easy access to get in whenever we're going to be doing excursions there. And just an overall view here of where Edinburgh is located, very close to Glasgow. All right, so you may be wondering, what are the benefits of a study abroad pre-college program? This is a program that's really unique to the area. It's unique to Stout. There's only, I think Madison had just started a program recently. Otherwise, it's a program that is really not offered in the local area. And pre-college program is really a kind of the perfect program for high school seniors. They are in a very exciting time of their life where they're ending high school, they're excited about college, and they're open to new ideas and change. And that's why this is a good program for that cohort of students. It's a great opportunity to grow and learn. You're going to be in the living learning community there in an international setting. You'll be living in flats over there, and where you'll be living around, the other classmates. So it's a really nice living learning community, and you'll be really focusing on gaining independence and competence and confidence. In terms of independence, just an example, you'll be doing your own laundry. So if you haven't really done that yet, you'll be doing it over there. If you haven't been really doing much cooking up until now, you'll have a chance to do some of your own cooking. So you'll pick up some great skills along the way. Obviously, some global awareness that you'll be gaining, and then really being able to bring that global mindset back into the classroom. When you have those dialogues in your classes, you can really bring in a different perspective. And soft skills. I'm not sure if you are familiar really with soft skills, but soft skills are there's all the skills like communication and learning how to navigate ambiguity and flexibility and all those extra things that are not your hard skills. Like if you're studying computer science, you're learning all your programming and things. Or if you're an engineer, you're learning all your engineering calculations. But you need your soft skills to go along with that too. And studying abroad is a great way to gain a lot of those soft skills. You'll arrive on campus with 39 new friends. I know the program or the group that we took to Scotland this past summer, they were so excited to be able to come onto campus in the fall, and we had a Discord social media platform that everyone had been communicating on in Scotland, and that continued when they were here, or still it is continuing. And when they were arriving on campus those first weeks, people were communicating, I live here, I live in this hall, I live in that hall, and so is just down the hall. And so it was a really a nice way to be able to come into campus and know people already. And this group of students is usually likely to go abroad again. Sometimes you get that travel itch and you just want it to continue. So there's a lot of programs we offer for current students, and so they can certainly take advantage of those. And less than 11% of students study abroad. So the students are really distinguishing themselves from their peers. So this is a great thing to put on their resume when they're looking for internships and co-ops and future jobs. It really helps them stand out from their peers. The eligibility criteria for the program is that you need to be fully admitted for fall 2023. And obviously a qualifying application. So a qualifying application will be obviously a complete application. You need to have a clearance from what would be the equivalent of like your, we do a Dean of Students clearance. So it'd be the equivalent, maybe your guidance counselor would complete a clearance for you in terms of speaking to your academic or non-academic discipline. And writing a statement, things like that. So I'm not going to go into other details with the application at the moment. That can be further down the road. But the important one is that you're fully admitted for fall 2023. All right, so getting into a little bit of the academics, and I will point out the picture that is on the screen there are the residence halls where you will be staying if you join the program. And so it gives you a little bit of, there's some nice green space. It's a real pretty campus, and very nice dorms here. So with that, to go into a bit of the academics, we will be offering 2 tracks in summer 2023. One track is, if you're going to be in the School of Art and Design, then you will probably take the Art and Design track and take a course DES 220. Introduction to 2D Digital Imaging, as well as the Art History 224, Survey of Art. And then for everyone else outside of the School of Art and Design, all other majors, including if you're undecided, you'll be taking Lit 196, Scottish Storytelling, and then the other one, COMST 100, Fundamentals of Speech. So after the program is complete, you will have, for art and design students, will have completed 2 required courses for the program, which is great to be able to get 2 courses out of the way before you start here on campus. And then those who are on the all majors track, you'll have completed 2 Gen Ed requirements. One is in the arts and humanities literature category, and the other one is in communication skills. So now I'm actually going to have the faculty pop on here and talk a little bit more in depth about their course that they'll be offering. Who would like to go first? Maybe Mitch, do you want to go first, since you're the veteran of the program here?
The old man will go first. Yeah, and so I'm so Becky and I comprise the faculty team for the not so interestingly branded all majors track. But we're for everybody, including even students going into an art and design program could choose the all majors track, and if those 2 classes appeal to you, and they will work just in the same way they would for any other student. Becky is celebrating the graduation of her son Hunter from the U.S. Marine Corps basic training. So she's down in Camp Pendleton, San Diego, celebrating his accomplishment there. So she gave me a quick point to make about her Fundamentals of Speech class. So Fundamentals of Speech is a class that every incoming student takes. It goes together with our composition 1 and 2 requirements to build a core of communication skills. And so it's a class that students would be taking anyway. And so a chance to take it before the first semester and to take it abroad is a really special opportunity, and one we've never done before at Stout. Becky has got 4 main presentation projects that will be structured throughout the class, all tied into your experiences that you'll be having in country and the places that will be. And all 4 of those presentations actually sort of culminate into one larger presentation that will highlight your experiences in Scotland for the purpose of convincing others the many merits of visiting Scotland and traveling to Scotland. So it's going to be all about the experiences you're having. So be processing those things that you're learning and doing and seeing as you prepare these speeches and presentations, and learn those presentation skills and oral communication skills that you would be learning in the semester classroom if you took the class on campus. It's a really exciting class, and there'll be some connections and collaboration, because obviously the idea of storytelling and speech and communication are really tightly connected. And so that brings me to talk about the Scottish storytelling class. So storytelling is a intentionally massive category. So I put almost no boundaries on it, and so the spectrum will span from ancient tales and folklore to spoken word artists creating and performing today in Edinburgh, from epic poems of Robert Burns to the walking tours that people take around town and around the country, and from the tartanry tales of Walter Scott to contemporary Scottish films. So it is storytelling of all sorts in many genres. And you, as the students, will be consuming stories, finding and discovering stories, curating a collection of stories, and telling your own stories. And so it's storytelling from all angles and all directions. And I'm really excited to be partnering with Becky and be putting these two classes together. And just yeah, and I'll say more in a few minutes about why this whole experience is so great.
Great, thank you, Mitch. Cynthia, would you like to go ahead?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, wow, Mitch, I want to take your class. So I'm excited to be along with you and I can find out all this information about what you're sharing with the students. So I'll be teaching Survey of Art Renaissance to Modern, which is an arts and humanities gen ed class. So if you end up deciding that you don't want to be an art student after all, those credits will transfer over to any major. So that's a bonus. And the class is a study of Western visual culture from the Renaissance all the way through the contemporary period. And the 2 weeks before our class begins over in Scotland, I'll have online lectures for you that will get us into the modern period so that when we are in Scotland, we can jump into the material that relates directly to the museums that we'll be visiting. So the wonderful aspect about the museums in Scotland is that the majority of them are free. So we'll be going together, but then there'll probably be opportunities maybe on the weekends where you can go back to some of the museums. That's what a lot of students did last time we were together. So we'll go to the National Museums of Scotland, including the National Portrait Gallery. We'll also go to Jupiter Artland, which is a really phenomenal outdoor sculpture park. So you can wander around and see the sculptures up close. And then we'll also be doing the street art walking tours where we get to wander around the city and see really impressive murals. And by that, I mean from the ground all the way up to the top of a skyscraper. I mean, these are gigantic murals, very, very much inspirational. And we'll be able to study works of art firsthand, which is just a really unique experience. Some of you have probably been to major museums around the United States, so we'll be able to see the size of the works of art, the brushwork, the texture, the luminosity, and with sculpture, be able to see negative and positive space. So it's going to be a really great experience for us to study art firsthand. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Cynthia. Michael.
And of course, I'm dovetailing off of Cynthia's in the same way that Mitch and Becky are teamed together. So the one that I'm teaching, 2D digital imaging, is a course that's used in all of the School of Art and Design programs. So no matter what you decide to do with your path, this is going to apply to your degree. And this one is really just a quick software introduction, a tour of the Adobe suite. And I'm like, I almost got an Adobe tattoo. Like, I'm very serious about it. I started Photoshop in 1991. So I've been at it a little while. So we'll go into the differences between vector and raster imagery, talk about file management and layer management and things like that. But I think what's going to be great about this, as opposed to the Menominee version of this, is that all of this is directed at capturing the media from the trip. So managing the media, making things from it. And at the end of this whole thing, we'll have a deliverable, which is a hardcover book with photos, full color stuff, text, illustrations, projects from maybe all of the classes that you're taking. So I think it's going to be a great keepsake and maybe Christmas present for everybody on your list next year too.
That's great. Thank you, Michael. You'll also notice at the bottom that there's going to be coursework starting 2 weeks prior, excuse me, to the beginning of the program and 2 weeks after to kind of finish up projects and papers at the end. Mitch, would you like to kind of chime in a little bit about what the 2 weeks prior, the reason for that and what it might look like?
Yeah, you will come to Scotland and learn. And last year we went to Scotland and learned as instructors that 2 courses in 4 weeks is a real tight compression. And so we made it, and maybe Anna can give you her perspective on things. We made it, but we realized we probably we would have a better experience support student learning better with a little bit of pre-Scotland work to lay some, as Cynthia says, lay some foundations for each course. The 2 courses that students take that 2 weeks before gives an opportunity working at your own pace as you're finishing up high school, wrapping up and getting ready for the trip at your own pace to work through some foundational concepts, have some core readings, do some activities and exercises so that when we get to Scotland, we can really hit the ground running. Because we are literally at times running and we are so many places, we realized, yeah, we really need to have some time to prep and set some things up. And then we get more out of what we're doing in Scotland. We appreciate more, we've got a better frame of reference. And then also on the other end, we realized that this sort of arbitrarily finishing before we get on an airplane, every project, get everything done and turned in, also didn't seem necessary. So we actually extended those deadlines last summer to give students more time to complete final projects, be able to get home, get readjusted and acclimated, and then have some time to put together those final pieces of work. And so we think that buffering, pre and post buffering, will make the whole experience much richer, much better, and give a better pacing to the whole experience, start to finish.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Mitch. And we also have some program features that you'd like to talk about, Mitch?
Yeah, so you can see these talking points on the screen, but to me, this is how we should learn everything. Everything in life should be learned this way. College classes, experience for your achieving your goals. We should just learn everything this way, where you're situated in a place that's rich, full of culture, full of meaning, where you can have direct experiences, and that's the site of all your learning, where the learning is integrated with your living, and so it moves back and forth seamlessly. It's not just contained, as Anna said, just in a classroom artificially, but it's happening all the time. It's happening on the bus, it's happening walking down the street, it's happening when you're taking a walk and thinking about the beautiful river that you're alongside. It's integrated in that way, and that we're there in a community and we form a powerful community. And so those friends that Andrea talked about, students, when they come to Stout, starting their fall semester, which can be a scary transition and can be difficult, dealing with some homesickness and adjustment. But after the JUMPSTART program, students are coming to Stout as a reunion with that community that they built over the summer. It takes, I think, a big part of that edge off of leaving home, friends and family, and all those familiar pieces as they're starting their college journey. They've already started their college journey. And so it is, as I said, this is the way to learn. This is the best way. And it fits our brand of polytechnic, Stout styled learning and education, where we're hands-on, we're project-based. It's really active. And that is something that I know that all of us as faculty are most proud of, and the reason we've picked and stayed at this institution to teach, because this is the kind of learning we think really matters and that really transforms people.
Great. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Excuse me. Now to get into a little bit of the cost. So there's what we call the program fee, and then there's extra out-of-pocket costs. And so we just kind of want to be transparent about each of these things. So the program fee is $6,050, and that includes 6 credits of tuition. So in our faculty-led programs, you're actually not paying the actual Stout tuition and fees. Our faculty-led programs are based on a cost recovery model. So we look at each of these items here and how much they are. You know, what is the cost of a round trip flight? You know, the estimation. What is accommodation going to be? How much is, you know, breakfast and other transportation going to cost? And we look at we create a budget, look at all these things, and we wrap it up into one program fee. So in addition here, accommodation. So again, students will be living in the residence halls at Harriet Watt, living in flats, and a flat is essentially there's a hallway with 5 rooms, and each room is where one student would stay. Everyone has their own room. They have their own room and own bathroom. So that's a really nice thing. And then everyone in each of the flats is a large kitchen, a nice room. It has a seating area, a table and a couch, has a full fridge and cooking facilities. And that's going to be essential for our meals. We are going to be providing the breakfast every day. We'll be going to Danielle and I will be going to the grocery store and stocking the fridges with breakfast items. And we do take dietary needs into account. And then students will be on their own, on their own, but with us for lunches and dinners. And so you'll see in the out-of-pocket part at the bottom where it says additional meals, that's what they should plan for lunches and dinners. Now, the reason for this is because, well, taking the meals at Harriet Watt were quite expensive. And this is more to kind of keep the budget down for the students, and they have an access to a full kitchen. So for lunches, there's actually a small grocery store on campus. And so students will be able to get what they call the meal deal or other food if they would like. A meal deal is where you get a sandwich, chips, and a soda for like 3.5 pounds. And then students may also be in Edinburgh for dinner, but we'll also be going to grocery stores. Grocery stores are a fun thing to really check out in another country. And so we'll be taking students to grocery stores. They can buy some of their own food. Last summer, students really worked together to cook meals or to do some baking. And so I think some of them had a lot of fun actually doing that. So this is going to in a way to kind of keep things a bit more economical for the students. So that's kind of what the plan is right now for the, or how the plan is for the meals on the program. The cost also includes transportation. So we'll have some, there'll be some coach buses that we're going to be renting for more excursions that are further out of the city where we can't take a train. And also 1 month, the Ride-A-Card. So they use this Ride-A-Card pass for all of the buses in Edinburgh. So they don't have to keep paying, for every ride that they're going to be on. There's also a 3-day Highlands trip. And this was a big highlight for the program last year, this past summer. So students had a lot of fun on that trip. There's other cultural events and excursions like museums and things like that. Those things are going to be included. There's international insurance that I'll talk a bit more about in a few minutes. And then all applicable fees are like our OIE fees and things. So things not included is an application fee. So there's a $200 application fee that would be paid during the application process. And then if students do not yet have a passport, it'd be $165 for the passport. And I'll be talking more about passports in a minute. Again, I talked about the additional meals, mostly for lunches and dinners. Personal expenses, this is going to be any souvenirs that students would like to buy. And then any baggage fees. So quite often when we purchase flights, it includes the first checked bag free, the first free checked bag. But sometimes the flights don't. And at this point, we don't know which flight we're going to have. So we just put that in there as an FYI. This could be a possibility. Hopefully they won't have to pay this, but just an FYI if needed. All right, so we're going to talk about financial aid because we know the costs and how to pay for this is an important question and something we really want you to know and be able to investigate here. So we're going to have Joe come on and talk about financial aid options.
Good evening again. I wanted to say this is probably the most exciting part of the whole evening's presentation is really talking about the financial aid. It's not about the beautiful hotel, the rich learning experience. It's about the financial aid office and our support system back here at the Stout to take care of you. I'm just teasing. So what's interesting? It's this is what I do. So financial aid for students, you're finishing out your 22-23 year. Usually in high school, you're wrapping that up and then you'll be graduating. So what's what's unique for that is most students who are interested in financial aid they're going to be filling out their 23-24 FAFSA for the upcoming year. Summer is a trailer on the end of our 22-23 academic year, so you'd actually do both FAFSAs, the 22-23 FAFSA and the 23-24 FAFSA. The 22-23 FAFSA is the one that'll help us for this any costs that we have with the summer. And then we also have a very, very short couple questions summer aid application and also a very brief study abroad questionnaire that just to let your financial aid counselor know that you are going to be studying abroad and that they can code out all your financial aid as a study abroad and not as the standard, because there's some timing issues with that as well. So definitely do those things. And then we usually are looking, before we can process anything, we have to have your high school send out your official high school transcript to the admissions office so that we see that that is completed. That's a federal government requirement, not a Stout requirement. So also all very exciting federal regulations is the most exciting thing as well. But if you can get those things in, then we'll be able to help you out with the financial aid. Most students, incoming students, are eligible for $5,500 for a year, but because you're not as a high school senior, you're not going to be taking any financial aid anywhere during the 22-23 year, you'd have up to that amount available for the summer. So that's the maximum amount. We don't tell people to borrow as much as they possibly can, but there's some funding available there if you wanted to help finance that. I've got people listed there, some of our financial aid counselors. We have a fourth counselor that we had one that retired and one that just was hired. So if you do reach out to our office, we'll make sure that you get to the right counselor for you. And it is based on the alphabet, but with the addition of our fourth one that replaced their retired person, we'll be rebalancing that and adding the fourth person on there. So if you contact Andrea, she'll be able to get you the information, or if you contact our office directly, we'll be able to tell you everything you need to know. If you give them your last name, they'll transfer you right to the right counselor and we'll be able to help you out with that. But that's something probably you can work on in the future. And if there's any questions, I'll stay on, of course, and just be able to try to provide answers to those. And Andrea can keep going with the rest of the presentation.
All right. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it. The picture that you're seeing here is a picture of the summer 2022 group in the Highlands. So that's kind of I think they were having a lot of fun there. So course enrollment and program payments, I'm not going to go into great detail because this is a bit further down the road, but if you're curious how this all works, our office will take care of enrolling the students in the course, so your students don't have to worry about that. And then I know I get a lot of questions of, when do we have to pay the program fee? Do we have to pay the program fee all up front? Absolutely not. The program fee payment is actually due by July 19th. So essentially, by the end of the time the program is done, that date is the date for all students at Stout. So any student taking a course at Stout in the summer, that is their due date, and that's the same date that we follow. So the only payment that you would be that you'd have up front is the $200 application fee. Flights. So we will be flying with the students. We recognize that there are many students who have never flown before and really haven't traveled much, and obviously we need to get there ourselves. So we will be making sure that we're flying with the students. Flights are arranged by our office. We want to have everyone flying together. Now, we may have more than one flight. People may be on two flights, because to get flights for 45 people on one plane is probably not going to happen. So in addition to that, though, we're going to have, a flight going from Minneapolis, St. Paul to Edinburgh. But we may also have a flight going out of Chicago O'Hare, because we recognize that there's a lot of students who are on the eastern side of the state or in Illinois and whatnot. And so we may be arranging a second flight out of Chicago. And in that case, one of the faculty or staff from Stout will be flying down to Chicago to meet the group there. So that the students are not flying alone. Students are responsible for their own transportation to the Minneapolis airport or O'Hare, either one. If students do not live near the Minneapolis-St. Paul airport, where it's not easy enough to even drive, say you live in California or whatnot, then you will want to plan to have a connecting flight come to Minneapolis or Chicago. And that will be an extra cost to the student with any deviation like that. But we definitely all want to fly together. And then, this last summer, we had many families and student supporters come and meet up with their student after the program. And they continued on and did their own traveling afterwards. And that's certainly a possibility. You can do that. We just need to know in advance of making flight arrangements about what that deviation would be. So we can book the flight over there and say if you're going to travel with your student 2 weeks after the program, we can make that flight deviation for your student to come back 2 weeks later. Again, if there is any additional cost to the ticket, we would charge that extra cost to that student. So makes it possible for everyone to travel if you'd like. Passports. If you don't already have a passport, now is a great time to apply for it when you have a little extra time over the holidays. The processing timeframes have gotten much better. During the pandemic, it was terrible. Well, it stopped completely, and then there was a huge backlog. Now the time frame for routine processing is 6 to 9 weeks, which is 1 week shorter than pre-pandemic times, which is great. Expedited processing is 3 to 5 weeks. So expedited processing is really, if you need it in a little bit more of a hurry, it is an additional $60. So right now is a perfect time to just do the routine processing and get that passport in process. Now, these timeframes that you see here do not include mailing times, which can be another 2+ weeks before it's actually in process. And there's a website there on how you can go about applying for a passport. And I do want to just mention what's in red down here. I do get a lot of questions. This information is also in the application. So when students are applying, we ask for a copy of the passport in the application process. And we recognize that some students don't have a passport yet. That's fine. We can go ahead with your application and make a decision on applications without the passport, but we do want to know that it's in process because when it comes time to making flight arrangements, we need to know what that legal name is, and so therefore we need the passport. So the directions that are in the application are that in order to finish the passport material and be done with your application, and submit it, you can actually write your legal name on a Word document right when you submitted the passport application, and then just upload that document. I will see it and I'll flag it. Okay, that's just fine. I'll just note that you still need a passport in the future, and that way you can submit your application. Again, those instructions are in the application online if you need to, find them later. All right, so insurance, we have all UW system students have to be enrolled in international insurance, and it's called CISI insurance. This is considered the gold standard in the field. You can see, I'm not going to go through each individual one here, but they have some very good coverage. There's 24/7 medical, travel, and technical assistance. And usually when students go and get medical attention, usually they'll need to pay out of pocket, and a lot of times the costs are very minimal. And then they can just do a claim form later, but hopefully this won't be needed, but they will have insurance if needed. Now we're kind of heading out of COVID in a way. I know cases are ramping up right now because it's cold and people are getting colds and flus and whatnot, but we don't have to worry about as many travel restrictions as we did in the past, thank goodness. But if anyone is curious about the COVID vaccination, Stout does not require any students to be vaccinated. And for this program over in the UK, you do not have to be vaccinated. However, vaccinations and the booster are strongly encouraged. If a student does get sick with COVID at the last minute and is unable to go, unfortunately, we're not able to give refunds at that point. But if that's a situation, we'll deal with it on a case by case. Maybe the student can go over a few days later and join the program, but that's something we don't have to worry about all the details right now. There's no regardless of vaccination status, travelers do not have to take any COVID tests. And now, if a student tests positive while they're in Scotland at Heriot-Watt, there's over in the UK and at Heriot-Watt specifically, there's no legal requirement to isolate. Over there, they expect that people will take care of things and take care of themselves just as if they have a cold or a flu. But if a student needed to or preferred to isolate, then every student will have their own room and bathroom. So it will be very easy for them to have their own space if needed. We will have a pre-departure orientation before we go. And before pre-departure orientation, we'll actually have some virtual sessions. These will be sometime in April, May. We'll have some online sessions before the in-person orientation. Now, the in-person orientation will be on June 6th. If you want to write that in your calendar. During the month of June at Stout, we have what we call first year registration and orientation. So if you're coming to school in the fall, you will get an invitation to come to Stout, learn everything you need to know about Stout and get registered for your classes for the fall. So that is called, the acronym is FYRO, F-Y-R-O, FYRO. So we have 40 spaces reserved on June 6th for FYRO, or during that FYRO day. So when FYRO ends, which is somewhere around 3:30 or so in the afternoon, we will have our pre-departure orientation for the JUMPSTART program. I know it's a really long day, but it's nice to get it all in one day when you're all at campus. We'll have some food so that people can get through the last few hours there. So the timeline of everything. Right now, things you can do is, again, apply or renew your passport, whatever's needed. There is a March 1st program application deadline. Now, and again, that's qualifying applications are accepted on a first come, first served basis. So if it ends up being February 1st or February 15th, where our programs are full with qualifying applications, we are going to move forward with that cohort of students, and we're not going to continue to wait till the March 1st deadline. We're taking things on a first come, first served basis. March 10th, you don't have to worry about this detail right now. It's just a contract on your account that has to be signed. Course enrollment happens in April. You need to file your FAFSA before April 15th. Joe, if that date has changed, please let me know. I was going on last year's info. But you can always complete this sooner, and that also is probably helpful so you know how much aid you might be able to use for the program or would like to use. Again, April and May will have virtual pre-departure meetings. June 6th is FYRO. Mid-June is when you start your pre-coursework. And then we need your transcript in June before financial aid can be dispersed. And then finally, you fly to Scotland. And the final payment due for the program is July 19th. And then 21st, the program concludes in Scotland and we return to the US. Then you finish your post-coursework. So there you go. There's your timeline. So if you're interested in applying, please email studyabroad@uwstout.edu. It will take, when you request an application, it takes 1 to 2 business days for us to for me to send a link to you, because your record is reflecting that you're starting Stout in fall 23, and we have to make an update to your record to reflect that you're going to be actually coming in summer 23. So therefore, computer systems, they update overnight. And then after that happens, I have access to your record, and your application I'll start your application and send the link to you. Again, capacity is limited to 20 students per track, so we're taking 40 students. Again, first come, first serve. Everything's kind of actually a little repeat there. But what's important to note is that currently there is space to apply. I think we have about 8 applications so far. We have just started the recruitment right now. And so plenty of space to apply. So you can feel free to go ahead and do that. So now we're going to take questions. I'm actually going to take this presentation off so that I can see your faces, because right now I can't see anyone. And does anyone have any questions? You can either pop your camera on and ask. We welcome interaction, or you can always place questions in the chat box.
I have one.
Okay, great.
Tell me about the trip to the Highlands. Is that something that's planned for this journey?
Yes, it absolutely is. And I unfortunately have not been to the Highlands yet. I would love to. Does someone want to maybe, well, Mitch, Cynthia, Danielle, Anna, you've all been to the Highlands.
Let's let Anna describe her experiences on the trip.
There we go. That's great.
What she noticed, what she remembers.
Yeah, I thought it was really awesome because we got to stay in a little like seaside town and then go hike a big hill, go explore different like areas by the shore side, got to see the hairy coos. So it was a great way to really get out in nature and also kind of learn about the history because we had a really great tour guide. I don't know, what else did we do? It was a lot of fun. It was just a very different view to what we're used to here. So it was a really good experience.
Great. Thank you, Anna.
How many days are dedicated to that?
3 days. So you'll leave on Friday and come back on Sunday. Friday morning and to Sunday night.
I'll just add that it's truly a magical experience. I mean, it's hard to put into words what it's like to drive through those hills, and they slowly get more and more impressive. And the town that we stayed in has this amazing bridge that you can look out over the Isle of Skye, and it was just I don't even have words. It's just so amazing. And then we went on this amazing hike looking out, and there's sheep all around. And one of the pictures that you showed was also from the Highlands with the hills.
Question on the maybe for Anna or those that have been there. For a student going over there, is there any recommendation like cell phones or other things that are essential, for travel?
Yes. Danielle, would you like to talk about gift gaff?
Sure. There are some really good options for folks who want cellular service when they're not in the United States that are quite affordable and easy to procure. So last year before we traveled, we sort of recommended students simply order a free SIM card through a company called giffgaff. There are several companies that run similar operations. It's a pretty simple form you do online. I think it took about 30 seconds, maybe a minute to do. I received it a couple of days later or a week later. And then I could set up my account so that when I hit the ground in Scotland, I had cellular service on the local networks. So if that is something students are interested in, we can certainly recommend that option, and also, coach them on similar options if they prefer a different avenue. But also, there's a lot of Wi-Fi around, so if students aren't wanting to seek cell service, that they can probably make do. I think one of the reasons we recommended giffgaff was to try and give students the option to have, internet connectivity when they're roaming, right? If they if they get lost or want to look up a restaurant or directions, they could more easily do that without having to worry about the costs on their plans at home. For sort of perspective, the gift plans, there's about 20 different levels of plan, but you could get an unlimited data and I think text and like I think it was like 200 minutes for the month for like 20 pounds, which is basically $20. So if you obviously probably don't need an unlimited plan, you could probably plan to spend, 6 to 15 pounds, and you just have your cell service for the entire month, which is much cheaper than paying, $10 a day with your plan, or even the $100 if you've got that option. So that's something we can definitely help students to get. And if students forget to do it, don't worry. When we get there, we can pick one up. It's easy.
Yeah.
Thank
Thanks, Danielle.
I had a question about the orientation. You mentioned it was on I think you called it FIRA.
Byro?
FIRO, on June 6th. At least our high school will still be going on. That's the last week of school. Is there an alternate date, or is that pretty much the date where everyone's going to do that and we're going to have to get out of school?
Well, so students this last year, some of them got out of school. Well, I think everyone was actually, I believe everyone was there that day. What could be an option is you could choose a different FIRO day, but I don't know how close you live, if it'd be possible, like, because our orientation would start at the end of the school day around 4:30. I don't know if it'd be possible to come here, for the Jumpstart orientation.
Sure. Well, for us, we're in Milwaukee, so we'd have to take the plane probably. And if we're doing a FIRO, if there's the rest of orientation during the day, we're probably coming up the night before.
Okay, right. We could probably record or have it be I don't know, live or something. It's could be a little hard though. It's just, we have to think about that, how we want to do that, just because there's going to be interaction with students and things like that. So
and maybe we get them out. That's not the end of the world, as long as it's not conflicting with, I don't know what his finals are like and things like that. So we'll figure it out, but I was just curious about how that's handled, I guess.
Yeah, and we recognize it is some students are still in school. When we get to be a bit later, then it's getting closer to the time when they're having to start their classes, or their the 2 weeks before they're starting their asynchronous classes, and getting close to when the program starts. So it's kind of a squish for for lots of different things. So we definitely understand that. We'll see what we can work out.
Eric, I'll just say that, I mean, the preference would be to have everyone there. It's the first chance to sort of form this community. But it's not the end of the world if in your there's certainly going to be circumstances where it's just not possible. We have students from far out of state. It's not practical or feasible. And we can do what we can to work people in remotely to that sort of community building activity. But if at all possible, that would be the preference, is to have everyone there. And last week of senior year, right? It's probably senior skip day anyway, right? We had students last year that missed school to be at that session. So there was a whole range.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I think there was a question earlier. I'm not sure if it was answered. It was a question about software. And will the students have access to the software for their trip? Listening to Michael, he mentioned Adobe Work for the 2D course. Yes. So when students come to FIRO, they will be getting their laptop. So maybe if you're not already aware, Stout has this eStout program where they're renting a laptop, and that's loaded with all of the software they will need for their program. So the day they come for FIRO, they'll get their laptops, and then that will be a good time for them to start from that point learning how to use their laptops, because they will definitely need it on the program. And I think, Mitch, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think when we have the pre-departure orientation, or maybe it's during your your prep time, you might be showing them Canvas, like what's Canvas and how to use Canvas, things like that.
Yeah, so this is one of the many ways that we use JUMPSTART as an opportunity to get students ready for September. Is we'll be getting familiar with all the tools, all the platforms, all the resources that you'll be using. So when you come to campus, then you'll already know how to boot up your Adobe suite and make great art. You'll know how to navigate our learning management system. We use Canvas. So we'll onboard you to those things so that you're ready to go and be successful. There was a question Monica asked about other group activities, and so we used this language last year. This is kind of how we're framing it. That we have journeys, outings, and jaunts. And the journeys are the bigger trips, the trip to the Highlands, coach bus trips over to Glasgow, trips where we may go both tracks all together. Those specific outings, journeys haven't been planned or mapped out yet. Glasgow is a likely destination. The Highlands is a for sure. Then our outings are the smaller trips, maybe half day or a whole day using the city buses, or even walking in and around the campus, where we're going together for a purpose to a particular site. And then the jaunts, that's where where students have flexibility to get out on their own. And another thing I love about this program is that those jaunts, while on one hand, like a good way at the end of the class day to go and see the town, have an experience, spend some time with your friends, they'll also be often your homework. We'll be asking you, that's where I'm going to ask you to find stories for your story collection. That's where Cynthia may be asking you to pay attention to elements of art or design in the places that you are. So those jaunts are on your own, independent. They could be on the weekends. And as I mentioned in the chat earlier, students will always travel with at least one other companion, so they have that security and that help to navigate and get back safely. So when we're off campus, the students will always be with someone, either on a journey, on an outing, or a jaunt.
Great, thanks, Mitch. Are there other questions?
No, another question. You guys mentioned there was some pre-work before you go, and then is there post-work after? Like if we were going to do a family outing afterwards, would our student have responsibilities or commitments to make to finish up the program during that time period?
Yeah, if it's okay, Tim, I'll address that question. So that was a kind of a game time decision last year. We saw that, so Dave Beck was teaching a design class together with my storytelling class. And he was wrapping up his projects and I thought there's just no way these students can get 2 projects carried across the finish line. And so I set the deadlines for our projects, fully acknowledging students needed time to get home, readjust, settle back in, and then pick up where they left off. And a few students traveled with their families, and so we arranged a flexible deadline for them that took into account they were going to be on the Mediterranean for 10 days, even though he finished his project early. So I feel bad. I think he ignored all the trips, the shore excursions to hammer out his program. But so we'll accommodate that and make sure that it's not a undue stress or pressure when they get back to turn around and finish immediately. But there will be wrapping up things. They just need that time to kind of final synthesis and putting things together.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Well, yes, Mitch.
I'm just thinking. So again, to Monica's sort of question. So some of those outings, museum sites, parks. We went to a football match. We went to a group dinner towards the end of the time. And so it's a whole range of things we do to visit cultural sites, to be out in like shopping districts, to get out into sort of natural spaces, or and so it's a really big range. And so our goal, I mean, we'll plan all the details, but in general, we really are, as Anna said at the beginning, like we're eager to get out of the classroom, right? We'll need some time in the classroom to learn, to work together, to collaborate. That space is important and valuable. We also want to be out and about, right? Filling our minds with things, getting really engaged and really immersed in the place that we are. So there'll be lots of coming and going, lots of experiences together.
Great, thank you. Any other last minute thoughts from our faculty, staff, or student here? Okay. Well, I want to thank everyone for being here this evening. We really appreciate it. We hope that this has sparked an interest or more interest in the program. If you have any questions, absolutely feel free to reach out to me. Again, my email is studyabroad@uwstout.edu, or also my direct email. I check the study abroad one all the time, but I can give you my direct email. It's morse@uwstout.edu. There we go. It's in the chat box. Feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to answer any questions. And I think Cynthia's writing something. And Cynthia included her email as well, if you'd like to reach out to her. Thank you, Cynthia. We appreciate it. He's just going to add his and see there's a pattern happening here. Michael's going to add his as well. Yours is the best, Michael. There we go. So as you can see, we're going to your students will have you will have a lot of fun on the program. It's a pretty good bunch we have going over there next summer. So and Joe is going to add his email as well. And Becky's great. Excellent. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it. And again, thank you, everyone. And we hope to see you soon. Have a good evening.
All right. Thank you. Great session. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.